You're alive. That's unexpected. Last I saw you, you were lying in a crucible's worth of blood. An intellect devourer nibbling at your ear. Glad to see my eyes deceive me. I'm Gale. Well met. The very same. A traumatizing experience, if an instructive one. Nautiloids are incredibly rare vessels, a mind flayer colony's most guarded secret, and a gift pack's greatest prize. Not to mention, you're staring at me like a Rashimi at a blackboard. You're no wizard, are you? Because I need one, but it'll have to wait. The primary need now is a healer. I take it you recall the insertion of the parasite? Gotcha. Private. Nothing to do with me. And yet... Are you aware that after a period of excruciating gestation, it'll turn us into mind flayers? A process known as ceremorphosis? It is to be avoided. I assume you're no accomplished healer either. Powerful cleric, maybe? Just trying to figure out where we stand. Conclusion? Nowhere. You and I are in a whole lot of trouble. We need help, and I'm not sure where we'll find it in this wilderness. How about we embark on the quest for a healer together? Most excellent. Then, without further ado, let's be off. You know, I think that technically speaking, we just did something impossible. A mind flayer's hold over its thralls is all but unbreakable, yet break it we did. The parasite they infected us with, that's the thing that allowed us to do this. But that's not its true function at all. I'd point out the abnormality of it all, but then again, nothing normal about today. Let's move on.
This seems as good a place as any to make camp.
Go to hell. Ha! You're a good sport. Go to hell. An everyday expression. So trivial it's almost meaningless. But we've seen hell. It's real. And it isn't trivial. Devils, dragons, mind flayers. They used to be abstracts. Pictures on a piece of paper. What a difference a day makes. Now we have tadpoles slithering through our heads like carnivorous feti. That's not abstract. This ballet of flames invites reflection. But you're right. Let's be up with the lark. Find a healer before the wee one gets hungry.
They've withdrawn there to prepare this damn ritual of theirs.
I think you should. Yes. No harm in trying the diplomatic route.
We'd owe you a great debt. If we're forced to leave now, we won't make it to the city.
Now Arabella's being judged by a bunch of druids who hate us. That's not right.
This grove is like a cauldron about to boil over. I say we check in on the child. Make sure she comes to no harm. That woman has more venom in her heart than a snake in its fangs. But at least the child is safe. What is youth if not a time to be forgiven for one's transgressions? Ha! And you don't? You're wholly without vice or sin, or the occasional lapse in judgment? No. You don't strike me as quite that boring. indulging in a spot of vanity. Handsome devil, aren't I? Be that as it may. Ceramorphosis. What does it make you think of? Ah, yes. The good old days. Day 1, fever and memory loss. Day 2, hallucinations and graying skin. Day 3, hair loss and blood leaking from all orifices. Need to go on? Day 4, excruciating pain as the skeleton and organs reform and reposition. Day 5, the host personality has disappeared. Fingers and toes and limbs elongate. I take it you get the picture? Day 6, the flesh around the mouth splits to make way for tentacles. Day 7, a mind flayer is born. This is the annotated version, of course. Exactly. Our orifices remain blissfully unblooded, our heads remain clear, and our blood temperature normal. Any expert will agree this is abnormal. That, alas, is where my knowledge fails me. A rogue might call it luck, a priest might call it fate. As for myself, I'm a pragmatic. I see the silence before the storm. Something to sleep on. We should get some rest.
You are looking at Leroican's newest apprentice. Yes, that Leroican. The greatest wizard in Baldur's Gate.
I've heard that name before. A young man, yes? Lives in Ramesses Tower in the upper city.
The very same.
Word in Waterdeep has it he's a bit of a cad. But you say he's an accomplished wizard.
Of course he is. The greatest spellcaster along the Sword Coast. As if I'd settle for a lesser mentor.
In that case, I'd very much appreciate it if you could arrange an introduction, should we reach the city. Go ahead. I'm listening. Let's see. I hail from Waterdeep, the city of splendors. I'm a wizard of considerable and scholar of exceptional accomplishment. I have a cat, a library, and a weakness for a good glass of wine. And if the mood takes me, I'm known to try my hand at poetry. There. Didn't that paint enough of a picture?
For a split second, you see a swirl of untamed magic. Then his defenses drop like a portcullis.
Out! That was uncalled for. Not an eventuality I'm entirely unfamiliar with. Nevertheless, please don't try that again unless I invite you to. Believe it or not, but I witnessed a similar standoff back at the Yawning Portal. Of course, an establishment like that invites all sorts of outlandish entertainments. An inn in Waterdeep. Ooh, never a dull moment there. Adventurers come from all over Faerun to try their luck down the well. Leads into the Undermountain, you see, full of death, danger, and vast amounts of treasure. Hard to resist. Oh, a drow, a dragonborn, and a cleric of Cyric walk into a bar. Your standard fare. Maybe someone was cheating at cards. Maybe it was some weird lover's quarrel. In any case, out came the crossbow, and a hush fell over the entire room. I stood up and yelled, "Shadow Dark Ale for everyone!" The crowd cheered. The tension drained into 6 tankards, and soon all was well again. In a place like the Yawning Portal, the most powerful magic is calling for a round of drinks. Mind you, all I did was call for ale, but you went and stood in front of that crossbow. Well, I'd drink to that.
Got a whole lab set up? cooks up potions that fix our lads, no matter how much of a beating they take. Could probably stick your head back on if someone was to chop it off. Mighty booyog.
Booyog, the goblin word for magic. Primitive to a fault, but not entirely without merit. To seek some goblin priestess's help would be unconventional, to say the least. Then again, I'm not one to advocate conventionality. I wouldn't dismiss the idea out of hand. Goblins come from a warrior culture. To heal wounds is a highly prized skill. If this priestess is indeed a master of the arts of booyog, it's not inconceivable she could be of help to us. And if she isn't, we might find items of interest among her shamanic paraphernalia. If her tribesmen don't kill us on sight, that is. That scamp reminds me of myself when I was a nipper. Always getting into trouble. Comes with the territory. One time, my parents denied me a kitten, so I summoned myself a Tressim. Ah, dear old Tara. Beautiful creature. Benefits of a wizard's education, you see. Of course, my considerable talent didn't hurt either. Well, that depends on who you ask, I suppose. I may have summoned things rather more exotic than a winged cat. There was that magma mephit once. Nice fellow, we kept in touch. Of course, in walked the housekeeper, screaming, yelling, panic, and before you know it, fire everywhere. Anyway, I'm glad we got that boy out of his predicament. Poor lad would have been harpy feed if it wasn't for you. I can't believe she poisoned you. Tried to put you down like a dying dog without so much as a whisper of consent. Yes, against her will, without rhyme or reason. How dare she snuff out life with as much thought as snuffing out a bloody candle? I know you are, and yet, a few moments more, a few different words spoken. But you handled it. You handled it well. As for myself, I could quite do with a tumbler full of Waterdeep whiskey. Anyway, we live. For the moment. How about we go find that chap Halsin, little Miss Poison Ivy mentioned. With a bit of luck, he has the means to offer us a cure rather than a coffin. Do you feel as flattered as I do? A Cambion came courting us. Believe me, that was a devil's equivalent of serenades and roses. Don't let his bluster fool you. All that talk of desperation merely illustrates his own. I think he wants something from us, badly. And in that knowledge lies our opportunity. Conjecture? Yes. That much I concede. But let me play the devil deals advocate. The man is too eager. Do not dismiss his offer out of hand. Raphael is a Cambion, which makes him part human, and what is human is fallible. Fine, but my reasoning is this. Fact one, there's something very strange and very powerful about our tadpoles. Fact two, a devil offers to take it away. What if the tadpole is what he really wants instead of the customary price that is our souls? If I'm right, there's a mighty bargain to be made. Remember his Cormyrean rhyme? Down came the claw. Perhaps we should start growing our nails. Well met. I am a magical projection of Gale of Waterdeep, and if you see this manifestation, that means I have prematurely perished. However, for reasons that cannot be disclosed, it is of vital importance that my death be remedied at your earliest convenience. You may rest assured that I do not speak out of self-preservation alone. Many lives depend on my return to the living within the span of 2 days. I trust I've made myself clear. That will be covered by the "for reasons that cannot be disclosed" clause, so let's move on. I have upon my deceased person a magical item that can accomplish my return. But such is the value and rarity that it is protected by a multi-layered security protocol. I will now explain the protocol. Step 1 is to retrieve from my person a pouch I wear over my heart. Next, you must unthread the purple seam that seals it in a counterclockwise fashion. Do not touch any other colored strand. Inside the pouch you will find a folded letter and a tiny flute. Unfold the letter and note the markings in the top and bottom corners. These are the notes you will need to play. Starting from the bottom right, play the notes in correct order, clockwise this time. Upon completion of the tune, a magma method will appear, which will pose the following question. Iskcha Chisnaga. This is Ignan for "What is my name?" The answer is Kasitrak Ash. Pronounce the name correctly, and the method will breathe on the letter. Stay clear, because the little scamp can melt metal. Words will now appear on the letter's surface, effectively turning the letter into a scroll of true resurrection. Use it to bring me back to life. I think ingenious is the word you're looking for. Now, repeat my instructions back to me, please. In that case, this will be an easy exercise. Step 1. And next. Right. You then have access to the letter and the flute. Go on. Remember to play them clockwise. And after that? Correct. But pay attention to the trach part. Ch is back of the throat. And so we have gone through the necessary steps again. It is gratifying to see your memory does not fail you. Best of luck with the protocol. May my cold, dead hands soon be refilled with the warmth of life, so they can shake yours in gratitude.
My word, you did it! Oh, it's good to be alive. My hands are still cold, so that handshake will have to wait, but in the meantime, thank you.
Yes. I was afraid you'd say that. Only fair to warn you I've precious few answers to spare. I apologize if that sounds thankless. It's just that some secrets simply cannot be revealed. I suppose that after all you've done for me, I should be at least a little bit forthcoming. Tell you what, I will answer one question that you may have, to the best of my ability, if I can. Because it was the truth, and the truth is a great motivator. I am dangerous. Not because I want to be, but because of an error I made in the past. It makes me dangerous, even in death. You brought me back to life, and for that I am in your debt. But we're surrounded by danger. It could happen again. If it does, bring me back again. You must, for the sake of many. How can I help? The instructions were easy enough, weren't they? If slightly elaborate. Like I said, I'm dangerous even in death. I'm merely trying to protect those around me. I find that a healthy amount of theatrics, a voice from the beyond, a magic flute, a friendly, if highly combustible magma method, tends to make for a more compelling case. If nothing else, I'm sure I piqued your curiosity. Oh, and a quick word of warning, Astarion. I taste absolutely awful. Keep your distance.
You can sense something dark about this tome. Something profane.
That looks terribly heavy. Why don't you let me carry it for you?
How about you just leave it where you found it and we saunter away?
I have my fair share of experience with dangerous books. I'll take that off your hands into more prepared ones. Oh, what a night. What a goddamn... Blood. That's a pretty sight. So give it to me straight. How do I look? Canine is charged. You don't look so hot either, I might add. And neither do the others. So either the fish we had was bad, or it might just be happening. Everything that's been happening to us so far has been most irregular. I mean, who's to say this is not just another anomaly among many? My way of saying I haven't a clue. I'm going to bed. Sleep if I can, find some peace if that's possible. Meanwhile, I'll just pretend I had the fish. Good morning. And it truly is, isn't it? A very, very good morning. Do you feel as chipper as I do? The night brings counsel, so the saying goes. But last night had quite a bit more in store, wouldn't you agree? How's that for feeling better? That's because there's so much to ask. There's a glow about you, no doubt about me too. We feel startlingly well. And yet there's a certain look in your eyes, the far-off distance of a haunting. Which begs yet another question. Did you too have such puzzling dreams? Not a morning person, I see, but those eyes of yours speak volumes. What I saw surpassed the vivid. The voice was too true, the touch too tantalizing. I can tell you felt the same. Sought out in the night by... what? An illusion? Or a promise? An illusion is only a lie, but a promise is a truth that may yet come to pass. As for the lure of the touch, the kiss, the everything. Did you relent or resist? The dream wasn't just about power, it was also about desire. But that doesn't answer my question. Did you relent or resist? Then you're stronger than me. It was an expert, this apparition. First the seduction, then the spurning, then that teasing souvenir. You're not ready. I will return when you are. That's what I was promised. We have some restless nights ahead of us. Ah, there you are. How did you enjoy my dear stew this evening? It's an old family recipe. Good. I tend to season it with spices from Karator, but given what's available to us, good old Rosemary had to see us through. Not that I mean to regale you with my culinary exploits. There's actually something quite different I'd like to discuss. Indirectly, yes. We've been traveling together for a while now. And during those travels, I've been observing you. I want you to know that I like what I see. The way you stood in front of a crossbow to prevent a murder. The way you got Korga to release the girl. The way you handled Nettie when she poisoned you. The way you followed the protocol and brought me back to life. In short, I've grown to trust you. Now I need you to place your trust in me. Our journey together is bound to last a while still. As such, I feel compelled to speak. I say this because there's something I desperately need. But while I'll tell you what that something is, I won't tell you why. I have to ask you to agree to this before carrying on this conversation. I understand that I'm asking for a lot, but I can't tell you everything. Not yet, anyway. Please, reconsider. Thank you. I see I did well to trust you. Now, to the matter at hand. You see, I have a condition. A condition different from the tadpole, but just as deadly. The only way to appease said condition is for me to take powerful magical artifacts and absorb the weave inside. It's been days since I last consumed an artifact, before we were abducted. It is time. And by that, I mean it's imperative that I find and consume powerful strands of weave at the earliest possible juncture. Catastrophe. We all have our eccentricities. Ours are just more eccentric than most. That's part of the why you agreed not to discuss. Wouldn't want to make an oath-breaker out of you. We've already done the finding. In fact, you have one in your possession. That one right there. I will consume the magic inside. What was a powerful artifact will be rendered no more than a trinket. But it will save my life, even if only temporarily. Please, time is of the essence. If you're not willing to part with this artifact, so be it. But I implore you to be on the lookout for another. As luck would have it, Faerun is full of them, though I do feel obliged to point out that items of power tend to be in the hands of the powerful. There'll be danger involved, all great cost. Good. A bit of boldness will serve us well. I know the allure these artifacts hold. I understand their value and their power. All this to say, I understand the sacrifice I ask of you. I hope I can count on you. How can I help? Think of it as tribute. The kind a king might pay to a more powerful neighbor to avoid invasion. As long as I pay, there will be peace. But should I ever stop, along comes a war. I can assure you, the battlefield would extend well beyond the borders of my body alone. The fight's over and the spoils are yours. What are you planning to do with that chest? Music to my curious ears. How can I help? That is most gratifying to hear. May I? Thank you. I can feel the storm abating. Yes, this will keep my condition in check for a precious while. It's hard to predict the effect any given artifact has, but my condition is hardly a patient one. Rather soon I will feel it stir again, like a distant thunder sending tremors through the soul. I will need to consume another artifact before the lightning strikes. There's no choice but to find more. In the meantime, my thanks again. My lady, I bow to your boundless kindness.
You're not going to let this go, are you? I worship Shah, the mistress of the night. The destruction of this Selûne statue looks like the handiwork of my brothers and sisters. Now that you have the truth, please don't make a big fuss about it.
You worship Shah? Blimey. She and my beloved Mistra are not exactly friends.
True. I didn't think you'd react so pragmatically. Perhaps I should have told you sooner.
Oh. My, you startled me. It's miles away. No, she's no one, really. I was just practicing an incantation. What can I say? She's Mystra. Can't quite describe it, the need I sometimes feel to see her, to draw the filaments of fantasy into existence. No sculpture or painting could ever do her justice, only the fabric that she herself is and embodies. The weave. Mystra is all magic. As far as I'm concerned, she is all creation. It's a kind of love, after all. Magic is my life. I've been in touch with the weave for as long as I can remember. There's nothing like it. It's like music, poetry, physical beauty, all rolled into one and given expression through the senses. Would you like to experience this? Then follow my lead. Now you.
You feel something strange, like a kind word and a kind touch at the same time. It's warm and comfortable.
Excellent. Now, repeat after me. Athran Mistraril Kantrak Eo.
Suddenly, the scent of rosewater and a sense of well-being. A sliver of weave that tastes sweet on the tongue.
Very good. Now, I want you to picture in your mind the concept of harmony, as true as you can.
You see, or is it sense, the presence of a woman, the woman who hovered over Gale's palm. There's something like the anticipation of a kiss, then the pleasure of being cloaked in peace. You are safe. You are nestled in the cup of Mystra's hand.
You did it! You're channeling the weave. How does it feel? Oh, I know.
The weave connects you. The moment feels intimate. You realize the weave is making you one. You have but to imagine your desire, and Gale will know it.
I didn't think.
You perceive quick-fire gusts of embarrassment, trepidation, and finally, elation.
Sorry, I wasn't expecting But it is a pleasant image, to be sure. Most pleasant, in fact. Most welcome.
The weave evaporates, and as it does so, you realize the night feels suddenly cold and lonesome.
Oh. There it goes. How easily things slip away from us, no matter how hard they were in the obtaining. Good night. I enjoyed sharing a moment of magic with you. How can I help? I assure you it's not. Don't get me wrong, you did well. The somatic component, the vocal component, even the focus on the inner self that invites Mistra in. But I was still your conduit. To perform such a feat alone requires much and arduous study. Yet it is life's most worthy pursuit in my impartial, if not humble opinion. Oh, I was surprised, but pleasantly so. Just like I said, amid the madness that has befallen us, it seems almost out of place to think of a kiss. And yet, now more than ever, it's important to recall what makes us human. Well, you know what I mean. A stolen glance, that sudden heartbeat. Sometimes the little things are worth more than kingdoms. They promise things to come.
Did you want it? What you saw? I wanted it. I thought you were the same. Perhaps I was wrong.
Those visions of yours, Shadowheart, they aren't dreams. They're projections. Illithid ones. The tadpoles give us the power to bend others' wills, but using that power clearly comes at a price. Are we willing to pay it?
That wriggler swimming in your brain juice is a bit of an inconvenience, isn't it? I told you that girl is none of your business. Keep that hole under your nose shut.
She's a pregnant lady in distress. We can't just stand by and pretend she's not here.
I'll talk about your wriggler, and that's it.
Hags really do redefine depravity, don't they? A promise kept in the cruelest of ways. A loved one returned, undead. A nature that, as far as I'm concerned, deserves to go extinct. As does that abhorrent thing once man. For God's sakes, let his eternal sleep be free of this undead nightmare.
Thank you.
Gods, it's like a draught of cool water soothing a parched throat. Welcome and wonderful. There was a lot of magic in this artifact. Can't quite remember a time I felt so peaceful inside. It's good to perceive this constant fear repressed into a quiet scare. Let's hope it will last a good long while. Unpleasant, certainly. Gut-wrenching, too. Heart-rending, even, if pinched for an adjective. Then again, keeps you on your toes. On a more serious note, I do not wish to give you false hope. We're only treating the symptoms, not the cause. That said, this newfound calm I'm experiencing gives me reason to accept without prejudice a certain degree of, optimism. Time is a precious gift. With time, we may even reach Baldur's Gate, a city rife with magic, wizards, scholars, and perhaps solutions. And here's to your company. Oh, I can picture it now. Academies, libraries, laboratories, the assembled knowledge of centuries that may just set us free. Better yet, soft beds, home-cooked meals, and all the other little luxuries this wilderness so brashly denies us. God, I'd pay a king's ransom for a hot, lavender-scented bath, minstrels serenading as I close my eyes, and let the water's warmth dissolve all woes. Plenty to look forward to.
Such a touching scene. I almost hate to interrupt it. But you are not the only ones to dream this night. Has it escaped you that exploiting the tadpole conjures these visions for us all?
Perhaps it's time we stopped indulging in the more useful aspects of these parasites.
Perhaps it's time indeed. The power to bend wills is a mind flayer speciality. We're the ones who are truly at risk.
Agreed. These dreams are getting more vivid. We need to do what we can to resist them.
Look it, Claw. Sapper's here. Unless you got another reason to be here. Feck shite.
Let's try to be diplomatic, shall we? Goblins don't come by the handfuls, but by the dozens.
As the symbol glows, power courses through you. Authority.
Wait! I yield! I yield!
How about you make him kiss your feet next? Pungent poetic justice.
Yes! Yes! There! There! I've done it.
Nicely done. I probably couldn't have resisted kicking him in the teeth.
I thought I could count on your word.
Power is a treacherous thing. Sometimes it makes you betray yourself.
Did you even stop to consider the consequences? We could be doomed, thanks to you.
Happiness is like a stray cat. Sometimes it seeks you out, sometimes it ignores you. Tonight I'm ignored. It's getting late. I think I'll turn in. Perhaps some sleep will do me good. Isn't that advice for couples? The only one I'm angry with is myself. Please, just let it rest. So you did. Very well. Just now I was trying to cast a spell I once cast with ease, but I failed. You see, this fire, there was a time that I could make it come alive, that it would take the shape of a dragon and roar in delight. There was a time I could silence a beholder with a word and lift a tower from its foundations with a flourish. There was a time I was all but one with the weave. But no more. A mere shadow of the wizard I used to be. Why? Because I've lost. I've lost. I've lost Mistra. I sought to impress her personally, to turn the eyes of my muse upon me, to win favor of a goddess. But I failed, and all I invoked was death and dismissal. My death, her dismissal. Thank you. You're a good friend. I often think of that moment we shared together. One under the weave. I'm glad to know you think about it too. What's on your mind? The weave is still here. All around us. Inside of us too. As long as the goddess lives, magic is a tangible thing for those who know how to touch. I've studied magic for many years, and in as many ways I am still a more than capable wizard. It's just that I am no longer able to perform those feats even arch-wizards would marvel at. To have one hand on the pulse of divinity. You have to remember that the weave is a living thing, both the embodiment and the extension of Mystra herself. She can give, and she can take away. I'm afraid I'm still very much on her naughty list. Do you? So do I. You see, I'm not a big believer in fate, but I do believe in serendipity. Life is a tempest of events that sometimes we brace against and sometimes embrace. You're one such event that, one day soon perhaps, I'd like to embrace. I can hardly wrap my head around what we've just heard. Let's list up the facts, shall we? There are other people here with tadpoles in their heads. These people don't realize they have tadpoles in their heads. They can hear the tadpole speak to them, and they think it's a new god. I don't know about you, but to me, none of this makes any logical sense. Evil cults and grand designs, is it? Mind you, I'll not even dispute the possibility. But let's not lose sight of what we've learned here. What joins us and what separates us from these true souls. They hear a voice we do not hear. A voice that binds them in servitude. As long as we're possessed of our own free will, I venture to say there's hope for us yet. A grand necromantic spectacle staged at the behest of a newfangled god to track down us. Can't quite say which of these two wins out. To be honored or to be horrified. Several guesses spring to mind, all equally plausible and implausible at once. Fact is, we're being hunted, but at least we have the hunters at a disadvantage. Even here, in the lion's den, they don't recognize us as their prey. Thank you. There's that confidence I like. I thank you for seeking me out. Amidst all this merriment, I wasn't sure we'd have a chance to speak this evening. I wasn't sure we'd have a chance to make merry, just the two of us. As they say in Waterdeep, in wine there is truth. That's usually followed by, in water there is good sense. Good sense will have to wait till the morrow. We shared a romantic moment of the mind while cloaked in the weave, didn't we? And I seem to recall a fond allusion to that moment afterwards. Allow me to make the following proposition. There's a book that circulates in Orm, detailing the first 1,000 nights of a newlywed king and queen. They turned everything they did into an art. The art of conversation. The art of taste. Time-honored and newly acquired. The art of the body. The exploration and acceptance of the self and the other. The art of the night itself. I say we take a page from their book. Forget the book, then. Let's be blank slates on blank sheets, delightfully new. What do you say? That's because I'm full of delights. We'll let the night run its course, and when everything is quieting down, safe in the arms of sleep, I'll come by to find safety in yours.
The buzz of celebration quiets to a soothing hum as you approach your bunk. Though you seek repose, you needn't spend the night alone. With whom will you share a bed? Your heart skips a beat. What treasures might this night bestow?
I love this time of night. There's almost a reverent silence that accompanies the peak of darkness. And you'd almost believe the dawn will never break. I think there's a certain magic in it. The timelessness of lovers. That most beautiful of fantasies. Almost. Now it's real. I'm of the opinion one should try and excel at everything. How about we move on to everything? Good morning. Looks like the dawn broke after all. So much for the timelessness of lovers. It's all right. You look even more beautiful in the light. Like I said, I try to excel at everything. I know we have to get moving again soon, but before we part, I'd like to tell you something. I'd like to tell you a story. I hope it will be lovely still by the time we reach the end. It's a story full of answers long overdue. It is the story of a man who fell in love with a goddess. Please, a bit of narrative distance will make it so much easier in the telling. Indulge me. I couldn't do it before. I couldn't ruin the chance for us to happen. You were there. How could I say no to you? Please, just listen. You can judge me after you've heard my story. That much I certainly deserve. Thank you. Here we go. Once upon a time, not quite that long ago, there lived a wizard in a tower. The wizard was what one might call a prodigy, who from an early age could not only control the weave, but compose it, like a musician or a poet. Such was his skill that it earned him the attention of the mother of magic herself, the Lady of Mysteries, Mystra. Love. Perhaps it was not quite love, but you see, the wizard was but a very young man. It was most certainly love to him. Mystra showed him the secrets beneath the veils. The gossamer veils first, draped across the weave. The delicate veils next, draped across her body. Chosen one, she whispered, and she slipped them off completely. Yes, until one day, all too soon, the whispers stopped. The goddess spurned the mortal. The veils were drawn once more, and the wizard was left behind, heartbroken. Like so many of the heartbroken, he did something infinitely foolish. One has to think big if one seeks to win back a goddess. So the wizard thought big. In a word, yes. Here goes. Once upon a time, very long ago, a mighty lord lived in a tower, a flying tower, to be precise. I'll save his story for another time, but the gist of it is that he sought to usurp the goddess of magic so that he could become a god himself. He almost managed, but not quite, and his entire empire, Netheril, came crashing down around him as he turned to stone. The magic unleashed that day was phenomenal, rolling like the prime chaos that outdates creation. A fragment of it was caught and sealed away in a book. No ordinary book, mind you. A tome of gateways that contained within it a bubble of astral plane. It was a fragment of primal weave locked out of time, locked away from Mystra herself. What if, the silly wizard thought, what if after all this time, I could return this lost part of herself to the goddess? So it goes with Wizards of Waterdeep. It is a city filled with the most obscure arcana. He obtained the book and took it into his study. As for what happened next, here. Place your hand over my heart. Let me show you.
You feel the tadpole quiver as you realize Gale is letting you in. Into the dark. You see through Gale's eyes, staring down the corridors of a dread memory. A book, bound, then suddenly opened. Inside there are no pages, only a swirling mass of blackest weave that pounces. Its teeth, its claws. It's unstoppable as it digs through you and becomes part of you. And gods, is it ever hungry.
Terrifying, isn't it? And that is only the beginning. This Netherese taint, this orb, for lack of a better word, is balled up inside my chest. And it needs to be fed. As long as it absorbs weave, it remains stable, to an extent. The moment it becomes unstable, however, it will erupt. I don't know the exact magnitude of the eruption, but given my studies of Netherese magic, I'd say even a fragment as small as the one I carry, it'd level a city the size of Waterdeep. It is my truth, finally revealed. It is this folly that led Mystra to abandon me completely. I can only hope that you won't abandon me as well. After all we've been through, after the night we spent together, surely we can brave even this side by side. That is a great relief. Oh, a great relief indeed. I don't know what I did to deserve the magic that you do. Many challenges lie ahead, but in this moment I believe nothing to be insurmountable. The road awaits. Shall we? Or do you have questions for me? The orb was kept safe and inert in a pocket of astral plane, suspended in time. If I can somehow manage to expel it from my body while in the astral plane, it will be rendered inert again. Alternatively, I could learn to control its chaotic magic. That is, to succeed where I failed before. Without Mystra's favor, I don't see how that may come to pass. Of course, there could be different answers as well. Faerun brims with more magic than any one wizard could fathom, let alone comprehend. Who knows what outlandish solutions may yet present themselves. I'll be honest with you. I don't know. She's my muse still, the embodiment of magic. But the embodiment of love? Only if we ever meet again will I know. You don't. And a great compliment that is too. You are unique in your own right, and just as incomparable. Here's to us, and to brand new adventures. How can I help? Ah, yes. Karsus. Karsus was perhaps the most powerful wizard that ever lived. The child who would be a god, the elves called him. And he tried. With a spell of his own devising, he endeavored to usurp in one fell swoop the power of the goddess of magic. Mistril, she was called then. Imagine what it must have felt like. To be a god. To know yourself, to be untouchable. To be mistaken. As Karsus aimed his spell at her, she began to unravel. And with her, the entire weave. Too late did he realize what he had unleashed. It would have been the end of everything had not Mistril sacrificed herself. The goddess of magic is all magic. By dying, the entire weave was lost, and the spell that challenged a god failed. It was the end of Mistril, the end of Karsus, and the end of an entire civilization. As the child who would be a god was turned to stone, His empire came crashing down around him. The floating cities of Netheril were no more, an event that came to be known as Karsus's folly. Loving them has its side effects as well. Now, so many centuries later, I try to follow in the footsteps of Karsus. Not to destroy Mystra, but to prove my love for her. I tried to control only a fraction of the magic that was unleashed that fateful day. I merely sought to return one tiny diamond to an imperfect crown. Gale's folly, one might call it. History, repetition. It's the way things go. If it should ever come to that, if I ever know I am no longer able to stop it, I will do anything I can to ensure no one but me pays for my mistakes. I will find the remotest place on the surface of Faerun, or perhaps far below in the depths of the Underdark. I will await that death, alone. I promise I will not betray your trust. You kept me by your side despite the menace that I am. I cherish you. If worst comes to worst, I will be long gone before the curtain falls. What's on your mind? A night to remember. It was wonderful, wasn't it? Before we go on, though, do first let me apologize. To share such a night with you only to tell you of a previous lover the next morning, it wasn't the most gentlemanlike behavior. But I had to finally tell you. Silence would have been far worse behavior still. Nevertheless, I am sorry. One shouldn't be all gentlemen, or we certainly wouldn't have done some of the things we did the other night. But you first approached me about the other night. What was it you wanted to tell me? Then let me clear your mind of doubts. It absolutely wasn't.